show you how to acquire images using the confocal microscope. Sorry if the quality of this is a bit fuzzy because I'm actually recording this through my cell phone. So first we're going to go through the channels part. So now you can see all three of them are individually linked here, so which means DAPI and all the other channels are all independent of each other, so you can change them without affecting the other channel. Okay, so when I click on the second part, it becomes light gray. This part, the configuration, it's just for DAPI, it's not for anything else. Okay, and if I click on 48, it's the same. This is only for 48. So first, the laser 405 laser line is choose. This you really don't have to worry about. When you use a smart setup, it's already set up for you. The default laser line is usually 2%. You can increase or decrease it depending on how strong your 404s are. Keep in mind that the higher that you increase the laser intensity, the more likely you're going to photo bleach your sample. So you generally want to keep around 2. There's no right or wrong answer for this. It really is a case-by-case situation. If your 404 is very stable, then you can increase the laser intensity to relatively high, for example 5%, or sometimes even higher. If your 404 is very unstable, it's very easily photo bleached, then you don't want to increase the laser. Sometimes you even want to decrease it to 1% or 0.5%. Obviously for the laser intensity, the lower the possible is better because they do tend to photo bleach and affect your sample. Especially if you are imaging live samples, laser is toxic. So just keep in mind that if they are live cells or anything, they are quite like us. If I shine laser into someone's eye, that person will not be very happy. If we shine laser onto the cells, for example, they're not going to be happy either. So keep in mind that you want to keep this as low as possible. Now, for the pinhole, this is something that's very unique for confocal microscope. Pinhole is, just imagine it's a disc with a tunable hole inside, so the hole on the disc can get bigger or get smaller, and this with a hole is sitting right in front of the camera. Generally, you can keep the pinhole at 90 micron, which is the default. You sometimes want to increase or decrease it depending on specific situation. Okay, we're going to talk about it a bit later. Now, the last 3 components here, those are for the detector itself. So Gain Master, the first one, this is everyone's best friend. Okay, you can increase or decrease it, and because you are changing the detector configuration, you are not actually affecting the sample. If you, for example, if you increase the laser, you do affect the sample, and if you open up the pinhole, you affect the quality of the resolution of the picture. When you're using the Gain Master, increase or decrease it, it doesn't affect the sample or the image of quality as much. Okay. However, there is a range for Gain Master. Generally, I would not go anything higher than 900. Keep in mind, it's very relative. It really depends on your sample. Okay. Generally, I want to keep them between 700 something or 800 something, because if it's too high, it's going to create kind of backgrounds. Because think about the detector, it's a bit too sensitive, so it does get a bit more background. Okay, so this is number 1, and then digital offset, this is to decrease your background without affecting signal too much. So this is everyone's second best friend. Okay, especially if you have autofluorescence or if the sample itself has a bit of background, this will help you a lot. When it's 0, it means there's no background at all. Okay, if you go to -50, you're going to remove a bit of background. If you go to -100, you remove even more background. You don't want to go anything lower than -200, for example, because at that point it's going to decrease your signal significantly. So if you decrease your signal significantly, then you might need to increase your gain master, which create backgrounds again, so it doesn't make sense anymore, right? So you really want to keep it between 0 to -200, and obviously you don't want it to be positive either. It's to remove background, is not to add backgrounds generally. So you just keep in mind that this is has a range of 0 to -200. Keep it at 0 now. Digital gain, this is amplifier for everything. So you amplify your signal and amplify your background. Generally, you want to keep it at 1. If you put it at 1.5, it means all the signal that it detects, whether it's actual signal or background, is going to be multiplied by 1.5. If you put 3, everything is going to be increased by 3. Okay. Generally, you tend to keep it at 1 for most of the situation, apart from some specific cases that we're not going to mention here. So, how to image? So now I do have a sample ready, okay, and then I will choose which color I want to see first. For example, if I want to find the cells first, then I'm going to use that P first. So I'm going to unclick the 2 other ones, okay, and check here, and then I'm going to move up here onto live. Once I click on live, you're going to see, okay, so it's happening. You're going to see that when we image live, sorry, I'll zoom out a bit. When we image live, you're going to see the DAP. So now the DAP is a bit unfocused. So I am going to focus it a bit. And this is generally you want to use fine focus for it, okay? So I'm going to focus on it, okay? And then at this point, if you click on here, so you can see there is the small rectangular shape here. If you click on here, this is the high-low mode, or if you say the saturation checker, okay? So what this means, the blue means there's 0 signal, okay? Black, if you see any black here, it means they are signal, but generally they're not visible by eye. You see gray all the way to white. Those are the signals that you want to see. Here I have a lot of red here, okay? Red means they're saturated. You don't want saturated pixels in your picture. It's going to create problem for you for publication. If you want to do quantitative analysis, it's going to create problem for you. So for this case, okay, I am going to decrease the gain master. So I'm just going to slowly drag it. You can enter the number here, you can drag it here. It really depends on how much control you have, okay? So for example, I can, if I know yearly what number I go to, so I can try 700. Okay, still a lot of red pixels, then I am going to decrease it a bit more. So let's try 650. Okay, so now you can see most of the red signal are gone. You have a few that are here. So now it does depend on which cells are your cells of interest. So for example, if you see those ones that are a bit weaker, if those are your cells of interest, then you can just look away from the red pixel here. But if those are your self-interest and you have quite a few red pixels here, then you want to decrease the gain master a bit farther away, okay, to make sure that there's no red pixels. If you have 1 or 2 red pixels, they're generally not a big deal, but you don't want to have too many red pixels in your picture. Like we said, you're going to have trouble to publish, and you're going to have trouble with quantitative analysis. So now that P is okay. If I click back the rectangular here, you're going to see it go back to our DAPI channel. Okay, so say if I'm happy with the DAPI image now, then I am going to stop the live. Okay, I'm going to click on the next one. Order here is not important. Generally, I would recommend you focus with the channel that has the protein of interest. Okay, you probably don't want to always use DAPI to focus, because once you set the focus, say for DAPI, and then you go to another color and then you change the focus for all three colors are going to be changed, because the focus needs to be exactly the same for all three channels. Okay, so which means you might need to come back and check the fluorescent intensity in the image, whether it's saturated or if it's undersaturated, you want to increase or decrease it. So I generally recommend you start with the channel that has a protein of interest and find the focus from that, and then you don't want to change the focus anymore, you just want to change the settings here. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my green color. So it's the same thing, I unchecked the track 1 and track 3. I'm going to only leave the check mark for track 2. I click here so it becomes light gray, so I can change the settings if I need to, and then I'm going to click on live again. Okay, so here we don't see anything. Don't panic yet, because my gain master is at 166 or say 188, so it's too low, so I'm going to increase here. Okay, and you're going to see the image here again. Okay, so the same thing, we're going to click on the rectangular image here, and I'm going to see here. So let's say if the green color is my protein of interest, then you do want to change the focus again, okay, to make sure that the focus is the best. The way to see whether the focus is best is usually you want to see which focus give you the brightest pixel or give you more details. Okay, so if this is okay for me, then I am going to stop the live. Okay, and now I'm going to go through my third channel, the same thing, and check the first 2 tracks, check only track 3, click on the second half, so this line become light gray, so I can change the settings. We're going on live again, and then the same thing, the gain master is too low, so we're going to increase it. Okay, and then we're going to click on the rectangular shape to make sure that nothing is saturated. Here I have a few pixels that are a bit saturated, but most of them are fine, so I'm going to leave them like this. Okay, so now if everything is ready, then we're going to click on stop, and then we're going to check all 3 tracks. We're going to make sure that all the settings are still exactly the same. So we chose frame size 1024 times 1024. We chose the speed 7. Okay, it's very important to double check those 2 measurements before you acquire a picture, because they do sometimes change by themselves. Especially if I played with the scan area. Okay, so now all 3 are checked. I'm going to click on the last one, which is snap. Okay. When we click on snap, you're going to see that the image quality, this is the actual final picture. Live is really a preview, it's imaging at the fastest speed, lowest resolution possible, so it's not very good. When we are snapping the picture, it's actually best. The problem though, you can see is that the green is way too saturated. If you realize when you're acquiring that is too saturated, you're going to stop it, okay, and then you're going to go back, okay, and then you're going to click on live, okay, and then if it doesn't show up anything, and then you realize that my scan, the gain master and all the settings are good, it's because of here, okay. So this is a rectangular. above it, you have the stage S1, which is a detector. So you need to click here. Okay, it's still image, it's just not displayed in this case. So the same thing, we're going to use the rectangular as a reference. So we can see all the red pixels, and then we're going to go lower the gain master. Okay, so almost to here. Okay, so that we don't have much red pixel here. So now this is good. Then we click on stop, and then we click on all three of them, and then we click on snap again. So sometimes this happens, especially for your green 404, because the green 404 sometimes needs a bit of time to be excited. So just don't worry about it. You can stop the acquisition, and then you can redo your settings. Okay. So now, if you can see through, is actually the image quality is actually a lot better than if we're doing live imaging, because it is taking into consideration of all the setups, so all the pixel number, the speed, the averaging that we chose. If you don't see the red, again, it's because of this button is not checked. So we check this number, and voila, this is our image. Okay, and last thing, remember to save it. Save it, you go on here, and you have this small floppy disk button that's in the middle of those three. So you click here, and then you have this, and you can choose where you want to save it. Like we said, you want to save it under the user, and then you can find your file and save it here. So I am going to save it under my name. Okay, so say if this is my image, then I can type in the file name, and I'll leave it as image1 here, but usually you want to type in, for example, what slide it is, which is very important because you don't want to mix up all the slides. Okay, for the type, usually you want to leave it LSM or at CZI. Either way is okay. You don't want to save it directly into TIFF. You want to save it in the original file and then export them into TIFF images after, because the LSM format, which is a raw commercial format, has all the configurations and a lot of actual information that we need later on for analysis. Okay, so I'm going to save it here, and here this image is saved. Next time, if I use exactly the same fluorophores, then I can reopen this picture, okay? And then if I go here, zoom in a bit, okay? And then you have this reuse button here. I open my picture, and then I click on reuse. Then all the settings that we did today are going to be exactly the same for this picture, so we can reuse a setting that's embedded in this raw data file. And this is the reason why you want to keep it at LSM format, because once you change it to a picture format, say TIFF format, then all the settings are going to be lost. Okay, so this is how we acquire a picture, and we're going to talk to you more about other features later on.